I mean, her story doesn't quite hold up, but I don't know if she did it.
Why doesn't her story hold
So
up?
let's talk about it. And I've always wanted to go to Falls River, Mass. And we actually have a listener on Instagram who's from that area and has suggested a couple of cases like in that area.
Really?
Like, oh, you should come up here. Yeah.
Okay. Falls River, Mass?
Yeah, and I've lived in Massachusetts for a little bit, but
God.
Shut up. I lived outside
She's state dropping.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I lived outside of Worcester.
Oh, God, really?
In this little town called Sutton, Mass. And, that's one of the things I really regret about having lived in Massachusetts is I didn't make it to Salem, and I didn't make it to Falls River.
What the fuck, dude?
But we could make a road trip, Dylan.
No, we could, but if I was up there, I would go to those places.
Well, yes, we take a road trip. We're going to go to Salem, and we're going to go to Falls River.
So you weren't, goal-oriented back then?
Well, no, I was. I guess I just didn't go because it was cold. It was winter, and winter
You wanted
sucks.
to stay inside, didn't you?
There's a lot of mass holes. That's what they call them. The drivers there, they fucking suck. Sorry, if you're from Massachusetts, you know what I'm talking about. Go Red Sox. Red Sox Nation. I don't know. I was always a Boston Celtics fan as a kid.
Oh.
Why would they fucking love Larry Bird?
You just jumped sports.
Woo!
You went from baseball to basketball.
My baby daddy, my son's dad, is from that area.
Yeah.
He's a huge fan. So my little boy loves the Red Sox.
Tom Brady sucks.
He fucking loves the Patriots. Don't say that because my kids always like walking around in a Patriots t-shirt.
Well, no, I would never say that to his face.
You're going to hurt his little feelings.
I hate the Patriots.
Well, don't tell Zane.
I won't.
Lizzie Borden.
Yeah.
Okay, enough. Are you ready? Let's focus. I should take my Ritalin. Okay, anyway. On a hot August day in 1892, an assailant rained 19 blows on the back of Abby Borden's head with a hatchet before delivering 11 more to the face of her husband, Andrew, as he lay sleeping.
That's brutal.
A medical examiner later surmised that the couple had been killed roughly 2 hours apart.
How's that work?
At 6:15 that morning, the Bordens' live-in maid, her name was Bridget O'Sullivan, she woke up to gather firewood from the basement of their home, which was at 92 2nd Street in Fall River. About 10 minutes later, Abby came into the kitchen, and by 7 a.m., she had been joined at the breakfast table by her husband. Soon after, Andrew's youngest daughter, Lizzie, arrived. She was wearing a blue dress. Abby had asked Bridget to wash the downstairs windows and then headed upstairs to change the pillow slips in the guest bedroom.
Because that's a big deal. It needs to be done.
Make sure you fluff up the pillow slips.
Fresh pillow slips for the company.
Well, I know. That's all I do all day is just lounge with my freshly manicured nails on fluffy pillows with fresh pillow slips.
Delivered to you by olive skin males.
What?
I don't know.
You mean like gorgeous Greek men who just want to feed me olives and fan me?
Basically.
This is okay.
That's what I mean. How did you know that? That's what I was picturing in my head.
Maybe you just know my fantasies?
Yeah,
I don't
some
know.
hot fucking dudes.
Okay, well, I mean, can we trade like that for maybe like Idris Elba is like fanning me and feeding me olives?
Ooh, multiple Idris Elbas.
But he's like dressed like James Bond.
I would let him bring me, no clothes. A loincloth.
No, I want him to be dressed like James Bond.
Really?
Yeah.
In the suit?
Yeah.
Really? That's a big guy.
I know, I would climb him
with
like
big shoulders?
Yeah.
I want him to bring me stuff too.
He's
Is that weird?
No, he's pretty. He could totally bring you stuff.
No, but I feel like he'd be good at bringing people stuff.
Okay.
Satisfying their needs.
Yeah. Yeah, like an Idris Elba, Tom Hardy situation.
Yeah, but you know that Tom Hardy's tainted, though.
British men are
You've
so
seen
hot.
his weird dick.
Don't talk about that.
But it's true, though.
Okay, let's get back to Lizzie Borden.
All right.
At 9 a.m., Andrew left to run some errands. When he returned, around 10:30 a.m., Bridget heard him, like, struggling to unlock the main door, and she, entered in, helped him get the door open. She saw that the spring lock had fastened, and then at some point heard Lizzie kind of laughing upstairs.
Okay.
Which is an odd detail, but
pretty creepy.
We should hang on to that. Andrew went into the sitting room. The maid continued working again. She's, washing the windows, cleaning the windows. Lizzie comes downstairs, speaks to her father. Bridget overheard her say that Abby, the stepmother, had received a note from a sick friend and was going to go visit her. Or that's where she was gone at the time. Bridget moved on to the dining room, washing windows there, and Lizzie came in and started ironing some clothes, just making small talk as she did this.
Okay.
I imagine ironing clothes back then was probably quite a task.
Well,
you got the iron, the irons in the fire.
No, yeah, so literally you're heating it by the fire, right?
Yeah.
What year are we in?
Oh, this is like 1892, babe.
Oh, yeah. So there's no electricity. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Feeling kind of tired and I guess just generally like not feeling well for some reason, Bridget told Lizzie she was going to retire upstairs, take a nap, and she went up there to her room. While she was lying in bed, she heard the city hall bell chime, which was at 11 o'clock. That's how she
Okay.
kind of knew what time it was.
Right.
Around 11:10, Bridget heard Lizzie call out to her Maggie, which is what they called Bridget. I guess it was like her nickname.
Makes sense.
Like,
I
come
guess.
quick, father's dead. Someone came in, killed him.
With a hatchet.
Bridget rushed downstairs to find Lizzie in a hallway, and she told her that Andrew's murdered body was basically, in this room, and asked her to go find the doctor. And unable to locate him, Bridget returns back to the house.
Okay.
In the meantime, the Borden's neighbor, a woman named Adelaide Churchill, had come by to see what all the fuss was about. She found Lizzie distraught, tried to comfort her. Lizzie explained that she had been in the barn when she heard a groan coming from inside the house. Upon entering, she had found that her father was dead on the couch. When Mrs. Churchill asked about Abby, Lizzie told her that she was out visiting a friend. It was shortly after this that Bridget suggested that she try to find her stepmother, Abby. Lizzie said she thought she had heard her return, but wasn't sure. Then, of course, the neighbor was still hanging around. Bridget decided to check upstairs, and as soon as she, walks into the guest bedroom, she finds Abby laying there bloodied, corpse lying face down, just a mess.
Okay. That's crazy. Could you imagine?
No.
Being called to view the scene?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Around 11:45 or so, there were lots of police officers who made their way to the house. They began searching it. There was no sign of forced entry, no burglary that they could find. The front and cellar doors were locked, and there was blood on the victim's ceiling and the walls, but nowhere else.
Yeah, there's going to be so much cast off blood evidence from
Dexter would just have a ball there, right?
From this attack.
Inside the cellar, Bridget let an officer check that out, and he found a box containing 2 axes, one plastered with blood and hair, and a recently broken hatchet head which had been caked in ash. Lizzie was questioned by the deputy marshal about, her movements that day, what she had been doing, where she had been, these types of things. Typical questions that you would ask someone during a murder interrogation. She said she had spent the morning ironing clothes. When her father had come home tired, she had taken off his shoes while he napped on the sofa. Then she went to the barn for about 15 or 20 minutes to look for some lead to make fishing sinkers.
Yeah, because that's a common occurrence, right?
She said she hadn't seen her stepmother because she'd went to visit a sick friend. An officer inspected the barn to confirm Lizzie's alibi. It was pretty humid that day and windless. So he doubted her story because he didn't see any footprints in the heavy dust that would have supported this theory that she was in the barn.
Wow.
On August 11th, Lizzie was arrested for the murder of her parents. They were trying to allege that the motive was that her father was going to write her out of his will and leave his belongings and estate to her stepmother.
Oh, yeah.
At first, it seemed like the case wasn't going to go to trial, but they had an inquest, and it was reported that some passing, peddler, like a salesman,
like a snake oil
like salesman? A door-to-door person, had seen a woman walking from the yard to the side door of the house. That kind of supported Lizzie's alibi, that maybe she had been out in the barn.
Yeah.
Doing the things that she claimed she was out there doing. There was also a doctor from Harvard that said the blood and the hair on the axe belonged to a cow.
Okay, so
it didn't even belong to her parents.
Yeah. I mean, could he really tell that back then?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a weird. I've never heard that before.
Lizzie's best friend had claimed that she had seen Lizzie burning a blue dress in the kitchen stove days after the slaying. So they went ahead and brought the murder charge against her.
Yeah.
Lizzie Borden's trial began in 1893. It was on June 20th. After just 90 minutes of deliberation, the jury found her not guilty. Lizzie used her inheritance to buy a house on the affluent side of Falls River, Massachusetts. She died there in 1927.
So she got the inheritance anyway.
She got all of the money. Yeah.
Okay.
She did have a sister, and I believe she and her sister did live together.
Yeah.
And Lizzie remained unmarried.
Yeah.
And from what I've researched, she was kind of like, after this all happened, she had a lot of notoriety, of course.
Right.
But she was like the life of the party.
So,
like, people, she would throw these elaborate parties, entertained. I mean, she was like a socialite.
so she won out, if you will?
Yeah.
Even though she was put on trial?
Well, the Borden's unsolved murder remains a source of fascination. There's a lot of theories floating around. Some make sense. Of course, some are just sort of laughable. You never really know with these murder theories. A lot of people, have tried to conclude who may have killed the Bordens, why someone would have wanted them dead. I mean, most people believe Lizzie was the culprit.
Yeah. Lizzie Borden, 40 whacks, right?
There's some evidence raised by the prosecution that makes sense. Her window of opportunity was there. Of course, it was the hot, dusty barn with no footprints. It's kind of an odd thing. She burned the dress. She gave inconsistent statements.
And she ended up with all the inheritance.
However, there were two pieces of evidence that really stand out. Lizzie was the only person to have stood on the landing while her stepmother lay dead in the guest room. A scene that, like, Bridget and the neighbor Mrs. Churchill had come across. And although Lizzie said she had removed her father's shoes, they were actually still in the crime scene photo. He was wearing them. So that wasn't true. That didn't happen.
Well, that's weird.
But I mean, if you think about it, if this is something that you do quite often, like your dad comes home at a certain time to take a nap every day or something.
You take his shoes off?
Maybe you help take his shoes off.
Who the fuck does that?
Well, maybe he's elderly.
Back then?
Maybe.
I'm not going to take anybody's fucking shoes off.
Probably much more subservient.
If you can't kick your fucking shoes off when you get home, you shouldn't be out and about in the world. That's my opinion on that.
Well, some people talk about Lizzie.
I'll take your shoes off.
And they talk about her character, and they're like, she was this like kind Sunday school teacher type. She was very active in local charities.
She liked to swing an axe.
Others talk about how she was really ill-tempered and a bit of a kleptomaniac. And then at one point, she decapitated her stepmother's cat because it was annoying her.
Okay, that's pretty weird.
Now, there is a lot of talk about how Lizzie, she was 32 years old and unmarried, which at that time was like, oh,
an
Lord,
old maid.
She's a spinster. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And her father was really wealthy, but he was really cheap.
Oh, okay, so he was wealthy, but he was like
very frugal.
Yeah.
And Lizzie, wanted to buy new dresses, new hats, new clothes. She wanted to go to parties and make the scene. And he was really cheap. He didn't want her spending money on things like that. And he also didn't want her going out and, socializing because she was unaccompanied, didn't have a chaperone, was unmarried.
Oh,
and he just didn't feel like it was proper for her.
Well, I guess
there was
a
lot of speculation that was a point of contention in this relationship.
I can see that.
Rumors have surfaced, and of course this is all speculation, that Lizzie engaged in incest, whether it was consensual or not, with her uncle and her father, which is kind of nuts. That there was a locked door leading from her bedroom to Andrew's with a bureau pushed against it, which people thought was evidence that she was trying to keep her dad away from her at night.
Oh, okay.
She was certainly a habitual thief. Apparently, she had gotten accused of shoplifting multiple times, and her dad had managed to protect her from prosecution a few times. There was a painting that she was caught shoplifting, and he managed to keep the matter out of court.
Oh, wow.
To avoid her prosecution. And the jury acquitted Lizzie on the grounds that the evidence against her was mainly circumstantial, but most likely because the Victorian mindset just couldn't comprehend that this upper middle class woman could commit such a brutal act
of stealing?
Why she got away with the murder case. Because people just couldn't understand, how a woman could murder her own parents.
Well, yeah, even to this day, that would be shocking, honestly, right?
Well, yeah, but we do see more of that, like, matriarch